Good morning. I would like to warmly welcome the participants to the session dedicated to 2025 call on Destination 6, Resilient, Inclusive, Healthy and Green Rural, Coastal and Urban Communities, supported under Horizon Europe. I am Orsia Frison-Somogyi. I am Acting Head of Unit in Unit F2, Research and Innovation in DG Agri, and I will have the pleasure to moderate the session. You will be able to raise questions during the presentation, and you will be able to do so by using Slido. If you want to raise questions, you can use the QR code or go directly to the Slido and there to integrate Cluster 6 Info Days link, and then to go to room dedicated to Destination 6. I would also like you to ask to label the question with the topic number, and I will give you an example. This morning we will discuss, for example, the topic Horizon Cluster 6 2025-02 Communities 04, creating urban co-creation spaces for driving sustainable food system transformation. In that case, if you would have question on that topic, please introduce the number Communities 05, so the end of the title of the topic. I would also ask you to refrain from raising questions on evaluation procedure. As you know, there was a dedicated session on that yesterday morning. After the session, if your question has not been answered, please consider checking the available guidance and frequently asked questions on the EU funding tenders portal. If you don't find the answer, you can submit your question to the Research Inquiry Service. We will reply you in that case in writing. And of course, you can also contact your national contact points with any questions you might have. And now let's go to the content. So during this session, we will discuss on resilient, inclusive, healthy and green rural, coastal and urban communities. And our speakers will present 4 topics of the call 2025. The first is adapting to and mitigating demographic trends in rural areas through evidence-based planning and innovative solutions. The second is exploring and improving access to housing in rural areas and developing the houses and villages of the future. The third topic is on innovative solutions for resilient and climate-adapted coastal communities in the Atlantic. And the last one is related to creating urban co-creation spaces for driving sustainable food systems transformation. Before giving the floor to the speakers, I will give you an overview of the political context of the Call 25 within Destination 6. We are working in the general policy context, as you well know, which is European Green Deal, and of course very much related in that specific destination, the link with the long-term vision for EU rural areas. Of course, we have adopted our vision for agriculture and food just in February this year. That gives our objectives and our direction up to 2040. That is very much relevant also on the context in that destination. Of course, according to the strategic plan, the topics that should all contribute to the sustainable development of rural, urban, and coastal areas in general. And the next slide, I will share with you the main element and the key information related to this destination. The opening date of the call is the 15th of May, with the closing date of 16th of September 2025. In this destination, and this morning the topics we'll present, there are all single-stage topics. Related to the content of the topic, we will have, as I said, we will have 4 topics presented. 3 of them are research and innovation actions. We have 1 innovation action. We expect to support 6 projects, and the total budget is 37 million euros. Now I will go to the way we will handle the presentation this morning. We will present the topics in 2 blocks. After each block, you will have the possibility to raise questions in Slido. As I said earlier, if your question will remain unanswered, you can reach out to the Research Inquiry Service, and there we will reply in writing. And please remember, during this session, please only raise questions related to the topics. General questions related to Cluster 6 evaluation, as I said already, have been addressed in the Key to Success session. And now let's go to the content. And the first who will intervene is Ariana Paza, who will present the topic Exploring and Improving Access to Housing. No, the first one is Adapting to and Mitigating Demographic Trends in Rural Areas Through Evidence-Based Planning and Innovation Solutions. Ariana, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Orsholia, for the introduction. I will present the topics mostly related to rural communities. So the first one is adapting to and mitigating demographic trends in rural areas through evidence-based planning and innovative solutions. It's a long title, but it contains the main element of this topic. It is a research and innovation action, and we expect to fund 2 projects under this topic. What is the problem of stakes is that we have several rural areas that are facing the population, while some others are affected by population peaks. Imagine, for example, those rural areas that are very touristic and may experience population peaks in a certain season of the year. So what we are asking with this topic is to improve the understanding of the causes and the impacts of the demographic trends. And once we have a better understanding, we want the projects to provide evidence-based strategies and also propose appropriate actions to respond to the challenges that the population changes can cause. This topic has also a strong innovation component. So we also ask the projects that will be funded under this topic to find innovative solutions to mitigate and adapt to a changing population, and with the intention to improve overall the well-being and the attractiveness of rural areas and the well-being of rural communities. This topic has the possibility to use the financial support to third parties. This was introduced in particular to work on the innovative solutions. It is a topic that requires the use of the multi-actor approach, and we believe that this topic cannot be implemented without the use of social sciences and humanities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariana. And now let's move to the second topic on rural. Please, Ariana.
So the second topic is about exploring and improving access to housing in rural areas. We have an holistic approach when we look at rural development. So we don't only look at the aspects related to the agricultural sector, but we really look at the well-being of rural communities. So under this topic, what we want to understand is what is the state of the real estate and rental markets in rural areas, and understand what is the impact of this on rural communities. So we ask the projects that are fund the project, because we expect to fund only one project under this topic, to analyze the state of the real estate and the rental markets, but also what is the state of the houses in rural areas, and if possible to reuse them or to renovate these buildings. The scope is to advance and improve access to affordable quality housing and social housing in rural areas. And we also asked the project to provide recommendations on how to regulate the real estate market for the benefit of rural communities. So this is the part of the topic that looks at the present and try to improve the present situation, but then there is a part of the project that should look at the future. So we want to, under this topic, we are asking the project to run participatory processes to look at how the houses and villages of the future should be. This is a an aspect of the topic that should be done by using the multi-actor approach, so it's participatory, inclusive. We really think that this topic requires the use of social sciences and humanities. It is a research and innovation action, and the budget that we foresee is €6 million.
Thank you very much, Arianna. And now we will open the floor for questions on the rural topics, and we already have some. The first is related to topic 01. Could you clarify the term intersectional differentiations?
Yes, I can. So we used a wording that was suggested by our gender expert, but here we basically refer to intersectionality. What we mean is that, I'm trying to put it in a simple way, but basically the identity of a person is composed by different layers, and these different layers affect the experience of a person in terms of being discriminated or having privileges. So I'll try to make an example, very simple. I'm a woman and I'm Catholic, and I may experience a certain level of discrimination because I'm a woman living in Belgium, but not because I'm Catholic, because here no one has a problem with me being Catholic. I may move to another country where Catholic people are not the majority. They may be discriminated because the community there was always told that Catholic people are different. So in that context, my experience will be different because I will be discriminated not only because I'm a woman, but also because I'm Catholic. So the idea is that when you implement the project, you try to be as inclusive as possible, and that you consider all these aspects when you include, you run inclusive processes.
Okay, there is another question which is more generic, but Arianna will take it. How many years is this project supposed to be?
So we don't indicate the duration of the project. It's a choice that the applicants will have to make, and it depends really on how you structure your proposal. We can say that on average we see projects that are lasting between 3 and 5 years, but it really depends on the way you structure your project and you decide to distribute the resources along the years.
Thank you, Arianna. The next question is related to policies. Should project include policies that are responsible, for example, for family policies, support services, education system, facilities in rural areas?
So it's not should, in the sense that we are not indicating this as mandatory in the topic text, but certainly is something that proposal can do. Again, is up to the proposal to decide on what they want to focus. In the first topic I have presented, we are asking to find solution, innovative solution. And we left it on purpose very open, because we are not saying with whom the project should collaborate or what type of solutions they should work on. So it's really up to the proposal to decide what is the focus of the project they want to build. And so if you want to work with this type of policies and in this area, is something that you can definitely do.
Thank you, Arianna. The next question is on cultural industries. Would cultural industries can be considered as useful partners and tourism industry inclusion would be beneficial?
Thank you. It's an option. Again, it really depends on how you want to structure the project. If you see that working with solution in the cultural sector might be a useful solution to improve the well-being of rural communities and to improve the attractiveness of rural communities, is an option that you can definitely use. Again, we are looking at the demographic trends. So, for example, if you are working with communities that are particularly affected by the tourism industries, I think that you need to involve this type of stakeholder in the solution you want to develop, because in the end, the objective is not to favor a sector or another, but really to find a solution that can be accepted by rural communities.
The next question is on third-party financing. The use of third parties, cascading fund, is specifically for developing innovative solution, and how much should go in cascading fund? Please, Ariana.
So, thanks for the question. The use of cascading funds is an option, so it's not mandatory in this topic. We included this because we thought that maybe in the moment the project will develop innovative solutions, we'll want to work with other partners that were not part of the consortium in the beginning. So we thought that this was a way to facilitate, hopefully, the life of the project that want to involve different entities at a later stage of the project. We do not say it in the topic, if there is an amount of the budget that should be dedicated to it. But we say that the maximum amount that can be given per grant is 60,000 euros.
Thank you very much, Ariana. In fact, in the rural topics, inclusiveness of the process is a key element. So please take that into consideration. Thank you. The next question, is it important to include in consortium the ESS infrastructure?
So, thanks for the question. I don't want to say that it's particularly important. It is something that we have included in the topic as an option for the projects if they find that this might be relevant for their proposal. But it's not mandatory, so it's just an option, and we wanted you to know that this exists, and if you want to use it, you can do it.
Thank you, Ariana. And now we are getting the questions on the second topic. The first one is rather specific, but I will still let Ariana to reply to an extent that it is possible. So the question, it is important to address the technological aspects, material isolation, or it is mostly focused on policy level? We are speaking about the housing topic.
Thank you. It's true that I haven't highlighted this in my presentation. I focused mostly on the policy level part, but in the topic test, in fact, we are also looking on how to renovate houses, how to improve houses, because in the end, we want that rural communities are also prepared to face the challenges of climate change. And we want that rural communities are part of the green transition, so it is also important to address these technological aspects. In the topic is much more clear than in my presentation, so we also want to look at the a sustainable solution for houses in rural areas.
Thank you, Ariana. The next question is the call main on the houses or housing policies. So I understand whether the main focus is on content or on the policy.
It's on both. It's on both. So the intention of the topic is really to understand if we have an issue in access to houses in rural areas, and if this issue exacerbates certain processes. So, for example, if we don't find, if young people cannot find a house in rural areas, this push them even more to go and look for a place where to stay in urban areas. So you have to work on both aspects because on one side we want really to have this understanding, and then to, if we have an issue, the project should provide recommendation to policymakers on how to regulate the market in a way that can prevent certain phenomena to happen. But we also have an important aspect that is to work on houses, so how to improve existing houses. We know that in many rural areas, because of the depopulation, many existing buildings were abandoned, and now it might be a problem to renovate them. So we want to also understand what is the status. Is it possible to renovate? Is not possible? What can we do to improve the quality of houses also in rural areas?
Thank you, Ariana. The next question is related to Bauhaus. Can you explain the link to Bauhaus in that call? Is it more a call for civil engineering and architecture, or it is more on market housing?
It's the first one. So, you know, the European Bauhaus is improving the spaces where we are living in, and we thought that this topic could be complementary, let's say, to this initiative.
Thank you very much. Now I think we are coming to very much detailed question. I'm not so sure whether we can say anything. I think we will have a very open reply, but the question is, are there any advice on the geographical spread of case studies, Ariana?
No, there is no advice on the geographical spread of case studies. You can choose. You have just to keep in mind that the rural areas are different, different in member states, but also within member states. So you can decide in which geographical areas you want to focus on. Just consider the variety. I think the variety is a good, is something that should be taken into account, let's say.
Thank you very much. I do not see any questions related to the second topic, but I see another one on the first one. We can take it if we still have time. I think we still have some. So related to the first topic on demographic, to what extent demographic toolbox should be considered, developed further, or taken into account? Please, Ariana.
So we have included this in the topic to support you. So the idea is that you don't do something that exists already, but that you take into account what was already done. So the idea of including, to mention this in the topic was that you acknowledge that this exists, that you can have a look at what was already developed at the EU level, and that you can use it as a basis for the development of your proposal. So short, you need to take it into account. It's not necessary that you develop it further.
Thank you very much, Ariana, and thank you very much for this very interesting exchange. I see a lot of interest. and questions raised by the two topics that we proposed that they are rather unusual, I would say. So thank you very much. I do not see any other questions coming. I think we can move to the next two topics. And the first on my list is on innovative solution for resilient and climate-adapted coastal communities in the Atlantic that will be presented by Iveta Aizbalte. Please, Iveta.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And indeed, I will present a topic on innovative solutions for resilient and climate-adapted coastal communities in the Atlantic. This is an innovation action with a budget of 6 million, and we expect to fund one grant for this topic. So why this topic? I'm sure you are well aware that coastal communities are facing increasing environmental challenges. But at the same time, we also see many excellent projects and initiatives that work on various aspects of coastal resilience. And therefore, there is clearly a need for an action that would bring together all this knowledge and solutions that are being generated, and also ensure that this knowledge is both easily accessible to local communities as well as usable and benefits them. This need was also recently highlighted by the All Atlantic Ocean Research and Innovation Alliance, or we call it AORIA for short. AORIA is in fact an international science diplomacy initiative on marine research, which brings together countries across the Atlantic. And in fact, one of the two priority areas that AORIA is currently working on is on coastal resilience. Therefore, I would advise you, if you write a proposal for this topic, to not only read very carefully the topic description, but also explore the AORIA website, for which we have the link in the topic text. And this website would give you more detail on policy context, as well as on the ongoing work that AORIA is doing, on which you could also perhaps build on in your proposal. As for the expected outcomes, we would expect to see an increased resilience of Atlantic coastal communities, as well as enhanced capacities and increased climate change literacy of these communities. We also expect a contribution to implementing the AORIA priorities. As for the scope, proposals should foresee working closely with coastal communities to understand their challenges and needs. Another important element is work on the repository, or a toolbox as we sometimes refer to it, of coastal resilience knowledge and solutions, as well as on an interface that would allow the local communities to easily access this knowledge. And by interface, we don't mean just another website, although digital element is certainly very important. But we also would like you to not forget the human aspects, the human factor, such as participatory approaches, or approaches to selecting the right solution or mix of solutions for local communities and their specific unique problems. And also ensure buy-in of the communities affected by this problem. So this kind of more broad interpretation of the interface. We would also like you to test and pilot the toolbox and interface in living labs. And finally, just a few important points to remember. International cooperation, of course, is very important, since this is linked to AORIA, as well as representation of social sciences and humanities. And we would also very much like that all relevant stakeholders are involved, since this is required by the multi-actor approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Iveta. And let's move to the last topic that we'll present in this session. Creating urban co-creation spaces for driving sustainable food system transformation, and Giulia Meloni will intervene. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure for me to present you today the topic creating urban co-creation spaces for driving sustainable food system transformation. It is a research and innovation action. The total indicative budget is of 12 million euros, and the Commission expects to fund actually 2 projects, each with a budget of up to 6 million. And the topics, as you can see, supports key EU priorities such as the European Green Deal, the bioeconomy strategy, but also the Food 2030 research and innovation policy framework. So why this topic? Actually, urban, as we know, urban areas face growing challenges, both in terms of food access or healthy diets and sustainability. But at the same time, cities actually have this double power. So on the one hand, they have the opportunity for community-driven actions, and on the other hand, they can also strengthen the urban food systems governance. So these are why this topic really is dedicated to the urban context and urban communities. And it aims to support actually the creation of these co-creation spaces. So they are places where actually the local communities, but also the researchers, the civil society, the public authorities, the private sector, work together to shape this more sustainable, healthy, but also inclusive food system. So inclusivity here is also key to this topic proposal. So maybe let me now get into more details on what we expect, and the project results should actually, on the one hand, enhance the skills and learning to actually shift food culture and behavior and food environment, but also improve urban governance. So this is also an urban governance topic for inclusion, as I was telling you, and social economy. So the strong inclusion aspect here. And also have a clear understanding of effective local food policy mixes and the contribution to our Food 2030 priorities. What else? Where project partners are also expected to create hands-on living labs and co-creation spaces, it's key, for healthy diets, and also to promote community gardens, in this case for really skills networks and best practice sharing, to include vulnerable groups, to boost inclusion and social cohesion, and also make sustainable food appealing. So via, for instance, media and key partnerships as chefs. And as I was saying, the participatory approach, the local governance is also key to the project, and the inclusivity for a food system change. And this also goes hand in hand with connecting different living labs and networks and EU projects. And also we want to have an evidence-based policy as well, so it's important also to establish data monitoring approaches. Please also note that, as you can feel, this topic is also heavily anchored in the multi-actor approach, in the social sciences and humanities, and we also ask a strong cooperation, also with legal entities established in widening countries, so really stressing that aspect as well, and international cooperation. We also added a link with the Joint Research Center, especially on the governance of food systems aspects. So with this, I close my presentation, and we're looking forward to your ideas and proposals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. And now the floor is open to questions, and you already have the first one related to topic 04. Could a consortium composed mostly by African entities be funded under this project?
Thank you very much for the question. So in a nutshell, yes, a consortium composed mostly of African entities can be funded. Of course, there are some conditions that the consortium need to meet. On the one hand is content-wise, so the partners have to make sure, of course, that there is an excellent match between the consortium and the call text, as just explained. And there are the more general eligibility requirements and any specific conditions that they also have to meet. In particular, the consortium must include at least 3 different independent legal entities, each established in a different EU member state and associated country. And while African countries are generally considered non-associated third countries, actually many are classified as low to middle income countries and are therefore eligible to receive funding under Horizon Europe. But we recommend consulting the official list of participating countries on the Horizon And additionally, we strongly encourage applicants to consider specific calls within Horizon Europe Work Programme 2025 that are really targeted towards African participation. So for instance, yesterday in the EU-African Union Work Programme 2025 topics, you can have a look at the Farm to Fork 05, at the Farm to Fork 16, and at the Farm to Fork 17. And more generally, you can actually, these points have been addressed yesterday in the session Key to Success, which we really encourage to rewatch because the recordings are available online at the website of the Info Days. And for, of course, any other additional question, you are very much welcome to write to the Research Inquiry Service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia, for this exhaustive reply. Thank you. So for the moment, we do not have questions on the second part of the presentation, so in these last two topics, but we have additional ones on the first two, which are related to rural. So we'll come back to those questions, and if meanwhile we are getting questions in the new two topics, we will also take them at a later stage. So for the moment, the floor is back to Ariana, and the first question is there any list of the predominantly rural areas, and it's related to the first topic.
Thank you. I hope that having many questions is a good sign. No, there isn't a list, but there are many maps. So you can definitely have a look at Eurostat maps, and there are different methodologies to define what is a rural area and what is an urban area, predominantly rural, and all the nuances. So you can definitely use Eurostat definition. I know that some member states have even more advanced definition of rural areas. So depending on the member state in which you want to work in, you can also consider these definitions. But for the EU level, Eurostat is the reference.
Thank you, Ariana. And the second question is related to the type of innovations that would be required under the first topic. So the innovative solutions are supposed to be technological or social innovations or both. And you're also invited to give some examples. I'm not sure that we'll go to that far, but on the first, I think you can easily reply.
We left the topic open on this, so you can decide on the solutions you want to work on. What we said, if I remember correctly, it was that they should be in strategic sectors for the rural economy. An example, I can also make it up in this something very simple. I don't know, let's say that we are in an area that is depopulating, and the population that remains is a population that is aging. So these people that remain will need support somehow. Can we develop a solution that can, for example, improve the silver economy in this area? So the idea is that you consider what are the demographic changes in the areas that you decide to include in your proposal, and you try to develop solutions to respond to those demographic changes. I hope it's a little bit clearer.
Okay, so the next question is still on the first topic of rural, and do the project need to focus on all three areas, or can they focus, for example, on the rural areas?
So if it is, if the question is only on the topic I have presented, The focus is to work with rural areas, so with rural communities. You have to target those communities. Then it may happen that some coastal areas are also considered rural areas, so this is something that you can include, but I think we are clear on this, that we want to target rural communities under this topic.
Thank you, Ariana. The last question that I see on communities one is, take stock of results for recommending appropriate policy measures. It's quoting. So can you please clarify this part of the call in relation to third-party financing?
Yes, I was trying to see the full sentence. Yeah, okay, so yeah, what we mean here is that you will work on finding solutions. And when you develop this solution, you may see that there are certain barriers maybe that challenge the uptake of these solutions, for example. Or you may face barriers in the development of the solution because of certain regulations. So this is what we mean. So if you encounter certain difficulties, or if you see that if there is a certain policy, certain solution, it's easier to develop certain solution, then you should recommend appropriate policy measures in this sense. So you take stock of your experience in developing this solution, and you could recommend to policymakers on how to make it easier to uptake this solution if it's something that in the end is working.
Thank you very much, Ariana. And meanwhile, we are getting questions on the second block that we have presented, and some questions related to topic 4 on urban co-creation spaces for driving sustainable food systems. The first one is, what is the Living Labs meaning for future? Will local people continue to manage and sustain it, or will it manage by first applicants? Please, Julia.
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. I think this is one of the main questions also in under Horizon Europe. Of course, I mean, the project should also consider long-term sustainability. And probably, and that's also a business plan or long-term sustainability by, I mean, in order to continue also to support these established living labs. For instance, by proposing strategies such as financial and organizational. I mean, the project needs to take into account that indeed, after 4 years of funding, voilà, they should be able to sustain and propose strategies to continue this long-term sustainability. But this is not a mandatory requirement. This is just in terms of long-term sustainability.
Thank you, Julia. The next question is also related to this topic. Would there be consideration of extension of work of existing consortiums working between Africa and Europe funded by previous Horizon funding?
No, in the sense that, I mean, partially no, in the sense that, of course, if you have already an established good consortium and you know that you're extremely good and are effective in proposing very good topics, then of course go ahead. But you need to consider a new proposal. So, of course, this needs to be built up. But of course, as always, I mean, you can definitely base yourself and use existing networks and existing communities that you have in terms of research consortiums. Thank you.
On the question, is the use of generative AI and machine learning required for data monitoring, or could more qualitative approaches to be used? Up to you. I think that, yes, you will make your mind how we can do it best, but there is no requirement from our part whether to opt for one or the other. There is another question on this same topic. Could you please elaborate a bit on the meaning of hands-on living labs and provide an example? I understand we have many questions on living labs. In fact, there is something that we widely use under Horizon Europe. So please, Julia.
Yes, thank you very much. So in this topic, we highlight the hands-on as opposed to the simple co-creation spaces. Why? Because we believe that, well, as you know, co-creation spaces are broader social, involve broader social and participatory environments where different actors shapes ideas, solutions, and policies. Hands-on living life, we really would like you to have this type of co-creation space where you actually test and experiment concrete interventions. So I highlight this concrete and hands-on part. Like, for instance, well, they need to have this interactive, of course, design, but not just for discussion. This is what I would like to do, is to really test and demonstrate real-world interventions in community settings with citizens and stakeholders. So really testing, again, concrete solutions. For instance, I mean, it could be a food sharing scheme or a healthy diet nudges, or, I mean, there are like many examples of concrete, so not just talking labs, but really like concrete hands-on lab in practice. And of course, you have to be able to measure impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. This one we already had. Yes, does the scope include the development of, that is still for the same topic for Julia, does the scope include the development of a pilot artisanal ecosystem aimed at driving and engaging with new food innovations?
I would say, why not? I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, the idea of Horizon Europe is really to come up also with innovation and innovative ideas. So, of course, if you're able to also to show that, this is new research, because this is a research innovation action. So new research is, of course, fundamental in this topic as well. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. And now we have our first question on the topic 3. Is it available to combine marine biology with rural society and natural coastal landscape issues and resources? Please, Aneta.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Indeed, the coastal resilience is a very sort of complex issue with very different aspects to it. And therefore, first of all, I would invite applicants to refer to look at rather at the definition of the coastal resilience that we have provided in the footnotes of the topic. And then from that, whatever falls under this definition would certainly be applicable, and you can consider as one of the solutions or part of the knowledge that needs to be included in the toolbox, for example. But I would leave it really up to the applicants to where they put this focus. Also, just to consider that at the end of the topic we have provided quite a long list of different examples of projects and initiatives on coastal resilience, or various aspects of coastal resilience that should be taken into account. So please consult that as well for inspiration. This is not an exhaustive list, but nevertheless something that you may find interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we are back to topic 4, communities 4. There is a question related to cooperation with GRC. I think that Julia already presented in the general presentation, but she can confirm. So the question is, cooperation with GRC, considering the information provided yesterday, GRC is expected to be a partner?
Yeah, thank you. So if you read the topic text, indeed it says cooperation with the GRC may be envisaged. We don't, of course, expect, but we may. So, of course, cooperation with the GRC is welcomed. As I told you, especially for actions related to monitoring and improving the governance of food systems, but it's not a requirement. Thank you.
And I would take those two questions all together. So now I will take the two other questions together because they are related to AI use in general, whether we have any indication to give on that. Please, Julia.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, of course, IA can be included in activities other than impact assessment. This is really up to the consortium and to the researcher. Would that be evaluated positively? Of course, if you only have this aspect and you don't cover other aspects of the proposal, I would say no. But this is, if this is an excellent added value, yes. So again, this is really up to the research consortium and to come up with excellent proposals. And also maybe on the role of artificial intelligence, there as well, I mean, we included it in the data monitoring approaches, but I mean, feel free to develop as it most suits the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another interesting exchange that we had. Many questions on the urban food systems and on the living lab concept. As I said, it is something that we widely use across the Horizon Europe programming as a very concrete tool, how we can experiment on the ground concretely and with all the objective that we are able to deploy the solutions and a higher scale and more rapidly. I do not see additional questions coming in Slido. We have another question on the cooperation with GRC related to topic 04. Should GRC be contacted before submitting application or after the proposal wins, GRC may be included? Julia, please.
Yes, hello. Hey, good morning. Yes, because we mentioned that in the Key to Success session yesterday. So the line to take is that GRC should not be contacted before submitting the application. As applicants, you need to think about what could be the contribution from GRC. And then only if you're successful and if you're invited to prepare a grant agreement, then you can contact GRC to discuss the exact modalities of involvement of GRC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivier. And now I think it is time to close this interesting session. Thank you for the audience for their active participation and the interest in the 2025 call on Destination 6, Resilient, Inclusive, Healthy and Green Rural, Coastal and Urban Communities. I would like just to remind you about the upcoming sessions. We will have two parallel sessions starting at 2. That will be dedicated to Destination 4 on clean environment and zero pollution, and on Destination 7, innovative governance, environmental observations and digital solutions in support of the Green Deal. To conclude the day, a dedicated session on partnerships will take place at 4:30. Thank you very much. And thank you to the colleagues.